that moves the cases. That moves the cases every time. And that is the only thing that is within my power and control. So I came from a family of hard workers, and I'm a hard worker, and I will work until the job is done.
Having only a minute, I'm going to limit myself to 1 point. And I'm going to reiterate the importance, I think, that the Bay County Circuit Court become active in these treatment courts, the drug, the alcohol, and the mental illness, because we accomplish a number of things that way. First of all, probation, which is what that deals with, that doesn't address the cause that brings a person to felony court in the first place, is not useful, or not as useful as it would be if you directed it to the causes that brought them there. Secondly, I think in the long run, even though drug courts cost money, there is money available for it. It's cheaper to society in the long run because you hopefully avoid, at least in many of the instances, a repeat crime, repeated harm, or more serious harm to the community. And third, hopefully you make productive citizens out of people who have made a mistake.
In the circuit court, we deal with cases, usually civil cases, anything over $25,000. We deal with felonies, and we deal with custody and divorce. It's a major area up there in the circuit court, and I will say right now, a major portion of my practice, I deal with divorce and custody issues. If I end up getting on the bench, or when I get on the bench, what I would like to do is make some changes in dealing with the best interests of the child. That is a very subjective area of the law. It's an area where judges need to make more decisions. They shove it down to the front of the court. The front of the court is bogged down right now. Saginaw, Bay County, they're overwhelmed with all of the custody issues that they're dealing with right now. And that is an area that needs to be fixed. Judges need to step up to the plate, and they need to be able to make decisions. They need to hear the sides, and they need to determine what is in the best interest for that child. A lot of times, sorry, all right, thank you.
Okay, this will be the last question. We want to thank all of you for coming today and the candidates. I'm certain when the answers are finished that Mr. Shaprinsky will have some closing remarks. Okay. The United States Constitution, the Michigan Constitution, guarantee a criminal defendant a right to a trial by jury, which the defendant can waive if chosen. However, in civil cases, increasingly over the last 20 years, even though there's a federal, the United States constitutional right, and a state constitutional right to trial by jury, increasingly by statutes written by legislators, and some court decisions, some observers believe that the right to a trial by jury in a civil case is under threat. For example, there are now economic caps, limits on how much a jury can award in damages in medical malpractice cases here in Michigan and other states. There are some proposals to take away the right to trial by jury in certain cases and submit factual disputes to so-called expert panels, so-called experts in subject matters that are being litigated. And then there's a general encroachment, for example, in auto negligence cases in Michigan, on whether a jury or judge can decide a question of what constitutes a substantial impairment of a body part before you're entitled even to have a trial on that issue. I would like to ask each of you, even though there are very few jury trials in the Bay County courts in civil matters, last year 0 in the district court and for jury verdict, and only 1 in the circuit court of auto neg. Each of you, please comment on whether you think there are threats to the civil justice system and what you think can be done to protect the right to a trial by jury.
Finally, a question in my area. I had that one case in Bay County, by the way. There's no question that there are some inroads into the jury system. When I began my practice, you had a right to 6. When my father started, it was 12. My father always believed that the more people you have to decide the case, the better, and I believe that. However, the McCormick decision, which will decide serious impairment of body function, should be coming down this month, and I expect that it will reverse depending on your politics, it really doesn't matter, the old Engler Supreme Court decision. One of the things I've been touting now is this State Court Administrator's Office mediation. Some people feel that that is an inroad into the jury system. I don't believe that. As I tell my class in civil litigation, we are not set up to try cases in civil litigation. We are set up to resolve cases. Now, whether that be by jury or this, that's what we need to set up in Bay County District Court. Thank you.
I also practice in federal court, and what some of my fellow attorneys don't know, and some of the people in the audience here wouldn't know, that, you know, we got this federal and state constitution that says you have a right to a jury trial. Well, if you're charged with a misdemeanor in federal court, you don't have a right to a jury trial. And the magistrate judge Binder can put you in jail. You don't have a right to a jury trial in all cases. Is that right? That's not for me to decide if it's right. Do I have an opinion as to whether it's right? Yeah, I don't think it's right. And I don't think it's right that they take away the right to a jury trial in civil cases. I don't want one person deciding my matter. If I have a right to have more than one person decide that matter, then I want more than one person to decide that. And I want the jury trial. Thank you.
I hate to see the jury trial right in the criminal form. Obviously, it's still there. It becomes now in jeopardy. And so I hate to see it in either. I think it's a bedrock principle of justice in our land, and it's necessary that we keep that. But I think what you learn is that there was one district court civil. Was that one that? Last year, is that right? Just gives you a little idea of how few there is, but we still need that principle, even though we have few of them. We only had one last year at district court. You're going to find out the district court, 75% of it's criminal, okay? And there's far more jury trials in the criminal, and we still have that right, and that right will continue. Thank you.
My civil days are Mondays, and every day that I have a civil trial, I have people coming in front of me for the first time. Many of those people are not represented. Some of them are, but many of them are not. And whether you're represented or not, I advise you of your right to a jury trial every time you come before me. That right goes away in civil trial after a certain amount of time. After the pleadings have been filed, you've got 28 days under the court rule to say that you want a jury trial. If that 28 days expires, you've lost your right to a jury trial unless some new form of pleading comes in and changes the general disposition of the file. What I can do as a judge is ensure that you know what your rights are. That's part of the most important thing that I do. So that's what I advise you of when you come into my courtroom. Do I believe the jury trial right in civil trials is being deteriorated? I think it isn't at this point. I think that there's a possibility that people believe that a bench trial is perfectly fair in a civil trial, especially in the district court where the money is not so high and where 99% of cases resolve, and where we do, in fact, already have mediation and arbitration.
The jury system, particularly in civil cases, has been under attack for most of my career. And you as citizens should be very concerned about that, because a jury is a representative body of the community. And their job is to protect people or corporations from the arbitrary exercise of power and to compensate people when that power has been arbitrarily exercised